Now, with the majority of people having to tighten their belts and living on recession-hit budgets, the news from the Irish Pharmaceutical Healthcare Association that the cost of established medicines has been reduced by 40% has been greeted with sighs of relief all around the country.
It has indeed. Almost 300 named familiar branded medicines are now going to be cheaper to buy, resulting in a potential saving of up to €500 per patient. Brian Murphy from the IPHA is with us this morning to explain how the initiative came about. Brian, we're thrilled at the news, but I suppose the question is why now, and why and how did this come about?
It resulted really from an approach that was made by the Minister for Health and Children late last year to the industry, where she outlined the situation that the country was in, which was no surprise to anybody, the economic situation, and said that given that situation, the state needed immediate savings on the state bill for medicines. Now, we had already been involved in a process since 2006 of reducing prices of products. We had reduced these particular products by 35% since 2006, and we identified that we could provide the savings the state needed by reducing the price of these roughly 300 very familiar brands by 40% from the 1st of February. So that's what we've done, and that will provide savings to the state in terms of the taxpayer, because the state pays for most of the medicine bill. Anybody who's on a medical card gets their medicines free, so the state pays there. So that's about 95 million. But also for private patients, anybody who pays for either part or all of their medicines, they should see a reduction, if the medicine is on the list, of about €3 to €4 in every 10, or up to €500 a year. And what they'd need to do is just to check to see whether their medicine is on the list. So we've established a website, www.checkthelist.ie, where people can go in and look and see whether their medicine is on the list, and they can see the price reduction and the likely price that they should be paying going forward, so that they'll then be able to benefit from that price reduction when they go to the pharmacy.
Why wasn't this done years ago?
Well, as I say, we have been involved in price reduction since 2006 of these products, and you can't jump off a cliff edge. You have to do these things in a process. So since 2006, 35% reductions, now further reductions. We are living in very different times. We're living in times when people are having to take pay cuts, people are losing their jobs. So things are happening now that wouldn't have happened before.
Well, people would say that what you describe as a process could also be described as you and the people you represent being dragged into it grudgingly.
I don't think so. No, I think what
well, the pharmacists would say that.
They might say that.
In fact, they have said it. Right.
Yeah, but well, back in 2006, when the country was, the Celtic Tiger was roaring very strong, and there wasn't anybody talking about price cuts, and there weren't pharmacists out there or anybody else engaged in price cuts. We were involved in price cuts at that stage of 35%, and now we've gone further in our price cuts. So it's part of a. But
was that not a reaction to people who travelled abroad
to Spain and the like,
and who noticed that the price of medicines in these countries was infinitely cheaper than it was in this country, and people wanted to know why the disparity, why we were getting fleeced?
I think the situation with a place like Spain, there are a couple of points. First of all, if you go to Spain, if you go out for a meal in Spain, if you want to buy a car in Spain, if you want to buy some clothes in Spain, you're going to find it's cheaper than in Ireland.
Not necessarily. You go to Marbella, it costs you the same as Dublin?
Well, I don't think so. I think a lot of places now, it depends where you go to eat or shop. But in terms of medicine, the situation in medicine is that the price of medicine that a person going in to a pharmacy pays is made up of a number of elements. There's the price that the manufacturer gets. There's also a wholesale element and a retail element. And we have been reducing our prices. The Minister for Health and Children and the state has looked at the other elements of the costs as well. You'll recall last year the whole issue with wholesalers and retailers, and they've been reducing those costs. So there has been, over the last few years, a reduction in the price of medicines, which I think is good news for patients. I would recognise that prices previously were higher, but I would say to you that the reason for that had to do with a lot of people, not just manufacturers, and in fact manufacturers in general. Our prices were very close to those in other countries, and with this sort of price reduction, that will certainly be the case.
Brian, it is undoubtedly good news, but considering that prices have almost been halved in some cases, and people are still making a profit, when you look back at the prices pre-2006, would it not be true to say that we were being fleeced?
No, I think the situation with some of these products is that these are older products, so it is more possible as a product gets older to reduce its price, because in the early stages of its product development, you've got to make back its research and development costs.
And stuff, they've been around for years and
they
years
have,
and
yeah.
years.
And that's what I'm saying. They're longer established products, but they're being used every week by literally tens of thousands of people. But what happens when a product first comes to market? It costs roughly 1.2 billion to develop a new medicine. To bring it to market. Only 1 to 2 of every 10,000 products that the industry starts developing will actually make it successfully to market. So there is a huge amount of money to be back.
It's not as if they're running at a loss, though.
Well, that money has to be made back.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, in the early stages of a product's life on the market, there isn't much possibility to reduce its price, because if you're going to have the money to do further research, as a product has been on the market longer, there is greater possibilities to reduce price. So I suppose the model of pricing in medicines is a little bit different from other products, in that when they get older, you do tend to see these sort of significant price reductions.
Because something new is coming out.
Because they're now in a situation where there are newer products and there's some competition also in the area.
Generics as well.
Generics come into the marketplace.
Okay.
Now, interestingly, in this case, we will be in a situation where generics, because they're not coming down in price, they will be more expensive than the branded products.
Okay, just I mean, there's 300 odd medicines here, so we don't have the time to go through all of those. But some of the better known ones, for example, Sinead, you mentioned Augmentin, which obviously is a very well known treatment for bacterial infections. That was $9.93. It'll now be $5.95. By the way, that excludes the pharmacist dispensing fee, which can range from $3.50 to $5. Cardicor tabs and Lipostat, which are both used for cardiovascular disease and chronic heart failure. Now, there would be a lot of those dispensed. Those would be two very popular drugs. In fact, I think Lipostat gets dispensed to about 14,000 patients per month.
Yes.
Now, also Losec, for people with esophageal reflux, 20,000 patients plus per month getting that. And that was a very expensive medicine. That's 36, now down by 30%. So that's pretty good going. But what always happens with these things, and my worry is that is this actually going to get passed on to the consumer, to the customer? Are those reductions, I mean, would they be reduced to the pharmacist? When I go in, am I going to notice a difference?
I think that's a fair question. I think you will, and the reason I think you will is that the pharmacists
will I see all of the 30 or 40% reduction?
They have welcomed the price reduction, and they have said that where the manufacturer reduces the price, they are going to reduce the price. So I have no reason to believe that they won't reduce.
So if they experience a 40% reduction, will they pass that directly on?
I'm not sure that you would get a complete 40% reduction through all the way through the system, because, as you mentioned, there is this dispensing fee at the end. So particularly if the product was one of the less expensive medicines, so if it was, say, like if you go into checkthelist.ie, you'll see those prices. Like if the medicine was, say, for example, less than €10, and there are some products there, you know, the dispensing fee will still be a significant element.
Okay,
but some of the other ones you mentioned.
If your organisation finds that you're offering between 30 and 40% discounts to the retail or the wholesale market, and that isn't being passed on to the consumer, will you come out and point fingers? Will you actually tell people that you're paying over the odds, that this has not been passed on, and that some of the people in between are gouging?
Well, what we're doing is we're making visible our prices to people. That's why we've established this website. So people can go into this website this morning. Yesterday we had over 50,000 hits on that website. So you can go in, checkthelist.ie, and you can see the price. And, if you're not satisfied with the price in one place, go and check
Brian,
somewhere else.
We're going to have to leave it to that. But thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Anything that saves us money is welcome.